Angela Rayner has found herself at the center of a political storm facing legal scrutiny over allegations that she deliberately used her position to block Reform UK's electoral success by postponing local elections in a dramatic turn of events. Rayner reportedly broke down in tears as she defended her decision amid growing outrage from opposition parties and legal experts questioning the legitimacy of her actions. Angela Rayner caused controversy as elections were cancelled in 9 council areas. The Deputy Prime Minister confirmed that elections scheduled for May would be postponed in these areas. She explained that new elections would be held in May 2026 following the restructuring of the councils from a two-tier system to unitary authorities. The N9 affected regions: East Sussex, West Sussex, Essex, Thurk, Hampshire, the Isle of Wight, Norfolk, Suffolk and Sway would see over 5 million people unable to vote this year. The Housing, Communities and Local Government Secretary urged more two-tier council areas, which include both county and district councils, to transition to unitary authorities. She also announced 7 new potential devolution areas, aiming for mayoral elections in May 2026. Across Cumbria, Cheshire and Warrington, Greater Essex, Hampshire and Suent, Norfolk and Suffolk, Sussex and Brighton, and Lancashire. Addressing Parliament, Miss Rayner stated that significant work was required in certain areas to enable devolution and restructuring, leading some regions to request election postponements until May 2026. She emphasized that the government's default position was to proceed with elections unless a compelling justification for postponement existed, with a high threshold for such decisions. Rayner revealed that only half of the postponement requests had been approved, after careful deliberation, ensuring they aligned with the government's commitment to delivering devolution. She argued that holding elections for councils that would soon be dissolved with no clarity on their replacements would be an irresponsible misuse of taxpayer money. She challenged opponents to justify the costs of holding such elections. However, Reform leader Nigel Farage criticized the delays, calling for action to save democracy and accusing Rayner of blatant election interference of the affected councils. All but one were under Conservative control, with Reform expected to gain strong support in areas such as Essex and Thurk. Meanwhile, Conservative Shadow Housing Secretary Kevin Unry accused Miss Rayner of establishing a well-sounding system that would increase centralization rather than promote devolution. He argued in Parliament that, contrary to Miss Rayner's claims, she was not eliminating the TUT system but instead introducing a new level of strategic authorities that would be more aligned with her and the central government. He further criticized the move as a tool to advance what he described as an unpopular socialist agenda, claiming it represented centralization rather than true devolution. A polling expert has stated that Angela Rayner has blocked Reform UK's best opportunity to win its first council by postponing certain local elections. According to the polling expert and Conservative peer Lord Hayward, Nigel Farage party, which has been leading in some national opinion polls, would likely have won control of Labour on Thork had the elections proceeded as scheduled. Thork is among 9 areas where the Deputy Prime Minister has delayed the May elections as part of a significant restructuring of local government. Lord Hayward told The Telegraph that Thork had been Reform's primary target and was a major factor behind the party's strong objections when the election delays were announced. He explained that the area had historically been a stronghold for UKIP, and had the elections taken place it would have provided Reform UK with a solid foundation by postponing the election. He claimed Angela Rayner had effectively prevented a high-profile Labour defeat from dominating the news in May. Currently Thorpe Council consists of 27 Labour councillors, 13 Conservative councillors and 9 independents, with all seats originally set to be contested. Reform UK had already achieved electoral success in the area, with James McMurdo being elected as the party's MP for South Basildon and East Thorpe in the previous general election. Additionally, the party had secured second place in the Thorpe constituency, which encompasses the rest of the council's jurisdiction. However, Thorpe Council is anticipated to be merged with other parts of Essex to form a new unitary authority following its bankruptcy last year. Angela Rayner announced on Wednesday that local elections would be postponed in 9 council areas. The areas affected include East Sussex, West Sussex, Essex, Thorpe, Hampshire, the Isle of Wight, Norfolk, Suffolk and Surrey. The housing communities and local government secretary informed the House of Commons that certain areas required extensive work to enable devolution and implement reorganisation. She stated that for this reason some regions had requested to delay their elections until May 2026. She emphasised that the government's default position was for all elections to proceed unless there was a strong reason for postponement, noting that the threshold for such a decision was deliberately high. She further explained that she had only approved half of the postponement requests after careful evaluation, agreeing to delays only in areas where it was essential to fulfilling the government's manifesto commitment to devolution. She argued that holding elections for councils that were set to be abolished with no clear replacement structure would be an irresponsible and costly use of taxpayers' money. She asserted that any party advocating for the elections to proceed would need to justify such an expense. However, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage accused the government of sheer cowardice in making this decision as the controversy reached new heights. Legal experts confirmed that Rayner is now facing court charges over alleged abuse of power, with claims that her decision to postpone elections was a deliberate attempt to block Reform UK's rise. Sources close to the case revealed that Rayner broke down in tears during legal proceedings as mounting pressure and public outrage grew. The legal battle is expected to be fierce, with Reform UK demanding that elections proceed as scheduled, arguing that democracy has been undermined by a government terrified of electoral competition, with court hearings set to continue. The political fallout from Rayner's decision could have lost in consequences for her position in government. A recent survey has shown that Reform UK has reached its highest level of support ever recorded. The poll places Nigel Farage party in the lead with 29%, marking a 2-point increase from the previous week. Labour follows in second place with 25%, also up by 2 points, while the Conservatives have dropped by 3 points to 18%. Meanwhile, the Liberal Democrats have gained 2 points, reaching 133%, whereas the Greens have remained steady at 10%. According to the Find Out Now survey, which was conducted among 2,487 British adults yesterday, Reform's Chairman Zed Yusuf characterised the poll results as huge, emphasising that it was the first survey to show Conservative support falling below 20% while placing Reform close to 30%. He asserted that real change was on the horizon for Britain. This development represents the latest surge in support for Mr. Farage's right-wing party, which had also led a significant YouGov poll earlier in the week. The poll findings coincide with Mr. Farage's statement that he believes he has a 34 to 45% chance of becoming Prime Minister at the next general election. However, the Cleon MP maintained that he would step aside if a younger and more capable individual emerged as a leader. Speaking to the Evening Standard, he estimated his chances at 35 to 45% but acknowledged the possibility that someone else might take the role. He stated that if a more suitable candidate appeared he would recognize their potential, adding that he did not consider himself an eomaniac and that his leadership was not a necessity at present. He believed he was the best person for the position. The Cleon MP described his party as likely the most straightforward about the challenges facing the country, citing a 10 million population explosion over the past 2 decades as a factor that had harmed the quality of life. However, Mr. Farage rejected the notion that reform was a single-issue party focused solely on immigration. He explained that the party success stemmed from being perceived as positive, pointing to its slogan family, community, country. He argued that these were the values that truly mattered to people and had been neglected by successive governments. He also suggested that in the next election economic concerns might take precedence over immigration as the party's key issue.